consider the best time for buyers to come to you and discuss their hopes and dreams and questions about the process?
Before they buy the property, yeah.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt, you need to have an accurate survey done before you buy the property and have us do a feasibility analysis. It's very rarely that I can just look at it and say, nah, you're fine. I actually did just have that happen for a local realtor, and he was surprised. I said, no, you're in the right zoning, you have the right critical area land classifications, everything just kind of fell together perfectly. So it happens, but I mean, is that what you really want to roll the dice? If you're spending, close to $1 million on a waterfront piece of property.
Right. And it's a generally acceptable piece of the process in these situations to add a feasibility study into the contract at a time period for getting that accomplished.
And if you're looking to do any type of improvements to the property, you're going to need a survey anyway to get permits.
Okay.
You have to submit a site plan, and that has to be based on an accurate survey. Any location drawing has a note on it that states do not use for permanent acquisition. They all say it. And you'll see that the positional accuracy is plus or minus 2 feet.
Wow.
So if that's what you want to try and use, it's up to you.
Well, the location drawing, what I've always been told, is basically more for the lender than for the home buyer anyway. So, if it's something that's going to be for your use and this is, a forever home or a long-term or major investment, it's very helpful to understand the reasons why the survey is a very good investment and a great first step, necessary first step. So speaking of perk testing, something that might be very useful for people to have an understanding of is about the perk testing season here in Anne Arundel County and when that happens and what you need to do to be ready for that.
That's correct. It's called wet season perk testing, and certain sections of the county are required to test during the season when the water table is at its highest. So groundwater elevations are the highest because they want to design the system based on the most restrictive water elevation.
Okay.
That season generally runs from mid-February till about mid-April. Usually doesn't bleed too much into May, and it's entirely dependent upon the monitoring wells that the health department has. So if your lot is a wet season perk lot, you have to get it done during the wet season. If you want to design the system outside of that, you'll have to wait till the next perk test season comes around.
Okay, so important to know if you're planning on updating or building on a lot, that you have to pay attention to when the wet perk season is and get your applications in time. So can you tell us about any other environmental factors that people would need to consider when they're going through the building process?
Yes, as part of the surveying, we identify the environmental features such as tidal and non-tidal wetlands, streams, steep slopes, hydric soils, highly erodible soils, and things like that we know have buffers to them, so that when our survey crews go out, we have them accurately located and can then delineate the buffers based on where those features are.
Okay, so for example, if I'm on a steep slope, I need to know because it's going to affect where the placement of the footprint of the house can go.
Correct, and I've seen times where folks didn't investigate their whole site and there were some steep slopes out in the woods, and I was talking to them and I said, hey, there's a floodplain in the back, and they couldn't believe what I was talking about until I pointed out on our survey how the contours were very tight. I said there's a steep slope back there and a floodplain, and they went out a few days later and actually walked the site and had no idea what was going on in the rear of the property.
So again, another place where all that information from the survey is really going to help you make good and clear decisions. So can you walk us through a little bit of the difference between trying to build or do improvements on a property that's on public utilities versus on well and septic?
Yes, this is one of the things that I research all the time. So if you're on a public utility, public water, public sewer, generally you're going to be okay wanting to improve your property, make your house bigger. It's when we get into well and septic is where the problems start. So You have to have a perk test on the property so that you understand the infiltration rate of the soil to understand how well the soil is going to absorb the sewage coming out of the house. So in Anne Arundel County, the septic system design is based on the livable square footage of the house. So if there's an existing septic system and it's designed for a house of 2,000 square feet, but and it's already built out to 2,000 square feet, if you want to add on, you have to add on to that septic system. Now, you can't just make a septic trench longer. You have to put new trenches in. So you have to have the available space on site to make that work. So it becomes just a geometry exercise. Can you make it work? There's varying types of septic disposal areas. You have dry wells, which are deep, trenches, which are skinny and long, or you have, unfortunately, sometimes the mound systems, which people see, and that can really chew up a lot of your yard. So most of the time in the newer subdivisions, there is actually a 10,000 square foot septic reserve area that is platted in your yard. So you need to know where that is. If you want to do an addition to your house or you want to do a detached garage, obviously it cannot be in that area, or you have to replat the 10,000 square foot area.
Okay.
So you can put a driveway through it, you just can't put a structure in it.
Okay.
So that could limit the size of the house, it could limit the number of bedrooms. And wells, generally with wells, the problems that we have are the setbacks. So a well has to be set back 30 feet from a structure, and then it has to be 50 feet from any part of the septic system.
Okay.
So you can run out of space very quickly. Sure.
And that's why a lot of times we'll see the well in the front yard and the septic system in the back.
Yes, that's
Sometimes
what we like to
vice
see.
Versa, but that's what we'll see a lot of the time. But that's also why a lot of time when you're looking for a lot or a home that you would renovate, regardless of by the water or not, one of the most important things in the evaluation portion of your process is it on well and septic or not? Because if it's not, like you said, you will have a great deal easier time changing anything about the footprint of the home or doing a building. Cool. Well, thank you so much for all this information. Super, super helpful for a lot of our clients. And if you pull nothing else out of this, go and get that survey done before you do anything else. And it's going to help you with a lot of the other decisions that you need to make.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thanks.